The lights in the throne room dropped without warning, and I felt it before I saw it. 11 shapes sliding through the west entrance where no guard should have been standing. My hand was already moving toward the door. My name is Ethan Marsh, and I was the only human guard ever given the honor of protecting a queen who ruled over 100 worlds that were not her own species, let alone mine. Everyone at court whispered that I was a mistake, a soft creature, chosen out of pity, too slow, too fragile, too short-lived to matter. I never corrected them. Let them believe what made them comfortable. Queen Myrelle sat on her throne with her spine straight, her eyes fixed on the darkness gathering near the far wall. She was Valari, a species with senses sharper than mine in almost every way except one, and that one difference was about to decide who walked out of this room and who did not. "Ethan," she said quietly, "tell me you see them." "I see them," I said. 11. Void cloaks, Corvith blades. "Then why are you walking away from me?" I did not answer right away. I crossed the room, past the shivering court advisor hiding behind a pillar, past the empty guard post that should have been filled 90 seconds ago, and I reached the only door this room had. I had insisted on one door when the palace was rebuilt, against every architect who wanted open halls and grand arches. Grand arches get people trapped from every direction. One door means only one place anyone can come from, and only one place anyone can leave. I slid the bolt across it, and the sound echoed through the chamber like a verdict being read aloud. 11 heads turned toward me at once. "You just sealed yourself in here with us," one of them said, his voice calm, almost polite, the kind of calm that comes from years of doing this exact job. That was not smart. "No," I said. "I sealed you in here with me." Queen Myrelle did not move from her throne. Her people were trained from birth to hold still under pressure, and even now, with 11 trained operatives standing between her and the only way out, she did not flinch. I noticed her hands gripping the arms of her throne a little tighter than before, but that was the only sign. I want to explain something, because most of the galaxy has an opinion about humans that is only half true. They think we are gentle, easily frightened, too attached to comfort and safety to be useful in a real fight. What they forget is the other half of the story, the part written across thousands of years on a homeworld that tried everything it could to remove us from existence, and somehow we were still standing at the end of it. We learned to survive long before we learned to build cities. That kind of knowledge does not leave a species just because it starts wearing nicer clothes. The nearest operative moved first, quick and precise, trained for a clean and quiet approach. I stepped toward him instead of away, closer than his training had ever prepared him to expect, and within a second, he was on the ground, unable to continue. I had not reached for a weapon. I did not need one yet. 2 more came from either side, thinking they had outsmarted me with the flank. I used the position of one against the other, and they ended up tangled together against the stone floor, neither one able to stand back up in time to matter. The room grew quieter with each passing moment, the kind of quiet that settles in when people realize the numbers they were counting on are no longer in their favor. "You are not on any registry," one of the remaining operatives said, backing toward the wall behind him, as though it might offer an escape that did not exist. "Human guards fight cautious, defensive. That is the profile every report gives us. That is the profile we let you see," I said. By the time 6 remained, some of them had already lowered their weapons, unsure whether continuing was worth what it would cost them. By the time 4 remained, 2 had turned and were pulling at the very door I had sealed earlier, forgetting completely that I was the one standing closest to it, and I had no intention of stepping aside. Within 2 minutes of sliding that bolt across the door, the room was calm again. 11 operatives were no longer capable of continuing their mission. Some had simply given up and dropped to their knees with their hands raised, understanding the situation had turned entirely against them. I walked to the door and pulled the bolt back myself, then called for the palace guards waiting outside, the ones who had been kept at a careful distance during the entire encounter, exactly as I had planned. When they entered, they found the queen still seated on her throne, and me standing calmly near the steps, checking a minor scrape on my hand, as though nothing unusual had happened at all. Queen Myrelle studied me for a long moment before she spoke. 11 trained operatives, she said. Alone, in the dark, and you never reached for a blade until the very end. 8, I corrected gently. 2 ran before I had the chance. 1 is only shaken, nothing more. She tilted her head slightly, the closest thing to surprise her species ever allowed themselves to show. That is not the correction I expected. I did not want credit for something I did not actually do, I said. She was quiet for a while, studying me the way someone studies a puzzle they thought they had already solved, only to realize there was an entire piece missing from the picture. When she finally spoke again, the careful distance she always kept in her voice, the same distance she used with someone she considered beneath serious attention, had softened into something new. Why did you lock that door, Ethan? An open door would have given you a way out. For yourself. I looked at her, and for the first time since I had taken this post, I let her see exactly what I meant by that quiet smile I always wore around the palace. I did not lock that door to trap myself inside with them, I said. I locked it so nothing else could get in to help them. She did not ask me anything else that night, but the story of what happened traveled through the palace corridors faster than any official report could have moved. By morning, guards from other houses were asking to be transferred under my supervision. By the end of the week, 3 neighboring courts had sent requests asking whether any other humans were available for hire. I did not take on new assignments. My duty was to Queen Myrelle, and after that night, she never again introduced me to visiting dignitaries as a courtesy hire or a symbolic gesture toward a smaller, newer species in the Alliance. She simply called me her guard, and let the weight of that title speak for itself. A few weeks later, during a formal gathering with representatives from 3 allied systems, one of the visiting delegates asked her directly why she trusted her safety to someone from a species so young compared to the rest of the galaxy. She did not look at me when she answered, but I heard every word. Young does not mean untested, she said. My guards people spent longer learning how to survive than most of our histories have even existed. I would rather have someone who understands survival in his bones than someone who has only read about danger in old texts. The delegate did not have a response to that. Later that evening, after the gathering had ended and the halls had emptied, Queen Myrelle asked me to walk with her through the private garden behind the throne room, something she rarely did with anyone outside her own advisors. Do you ever regret taking this position? She asked. Everyone assumed it would be beneath you, or beyond you, depending on who was speaking. Never, I said. I chose this because I understood what it would require, long before anyone else believed I could handle it. And the assassins, she said. Do you know who sent them? I have a few names, I said. None of them will be sending anyone else, not for a long while. She studied me again, that same careful curiosity she had shown the night everything happened. You speak as though this was not the first time. It was not, I admitted. It will likely not be the last either, but that is exactly why you keep me close, is it not? For the first time since I had known her, Queen Myrelle allowed herself something close to a genuine smile. Perhaps I chose better than anyone expected, including myself. We walked the rest of the garden path in comfortable silence, the kind that only exists between 2 people who have already proven they can trust each other completely. Somewhere beyond the palace walls, word of what happened that night was still spreading from system to system, each retelling adding a little more to the legend, though the truth needed no exaggeration at all. Humans were no longer seen across the Alliance as a fragile, sentimental species, too soft for real danger. Word had finally reached every corner of the galaxy that we were something far more patient, far more careful, and far more capable than anyone had ever given us credit for. And as for me, I remained exactly where I intended to stay, standing quietly behind the throne, watching every door, waiting calmly for anyone foolish enough to test what they thought they already understood about the guard everyone once dismissed as nothing more than a pity hire.